this is the Steam Deck and this is the Nintendo Switch OLED. And I'm gonna do a little head-to-head between the two, even though this is a pocket PC and this is a dedicated gaming console. It is very clear that the internet wants to educate me and tell me that this is not a console, it's a PC, and well, that's fine. I'm still gonna put them up against each other. And the reason why I wanna put these two up against each other is because it is clear handheld gaming is popular. And the reason why I say that is we're having companies such as Logitech create devices that can stream Xbox games. The G Cloud has been created to stream Xbox Game Pass games through xCloud. It's advertised that way. It is the xCloud handheld. And I've tried it and it's all right. I didn't love it. We also have other companies that are creating handheld PCs like the Aya Neo. Significantly more expensive than the Steam Deck, but still, we see that the handheld gaming sector is booming. We have the Nintendo Switch here, and the biggest similarities between these is one, the form factor. They are both relatively portable. Two, they are both hybrid machines. And three, they are both, for the most part, relatively priced. And the way I reason that is that with Steam and Steam games that you're able to purchase, they are on average far less expensive than games you would purchase on the Nintendo Switch. So we're looking at the end of the day, a really similar price point when it comes to gaming experiences. Now, let's break this down into just a few categories and talk about the biggest differences between the two. First and foremost, let's look at form factor. Well, the Steam Deck as it stands is by and large the more comfortable thing to hold. It is larger, yes, a little bit less portable because of its size, but still very much so portable with a case, but it just feels better to hold. The buttons are full-sized buttons, so your fingers don't feel like they're searching for the correct way to press a button because, well, they're too small. The thumbsticks are nice and high, and each one of the actual normal buttons and D-pad buttons feel good. They're a little bit oddly placed, but you do have the added back buttons as well as the track pads. I mean, the input options alone are massive. Now, the Nintendo Switch has a very sleek form factor. It looks good. I think between the two, the Switch looks the best. It is my version of an Apple device. It is sleek, it is sexy, it looks awesome, but not the best feeling. Oftentimes, you're gonna need to get yourself a grip case if you wanna do prolonged handheld gaming sessions or look into alternative Joy-Cons. I personally use the Hori Split Pad Compacts. They actually feel very similar to this. Now, aside from the form factor, we can talk about the hardware internally, and this is where a lot of people like to argue. Well, let me just make it really simple. On paper, the Steam Deck is far more impressive than the Nintendo Switch OLED, but here's the biggest thing. The Nintendo Switch OLED has some serious advantages when it comes to how it plays its games. It is a Nintendo device playing Nintendo games. And so first-party titles have been created, not always equally, but still have been created to run on this machine. Now this device is a portable PC launching SteamOS, and then you can play your Steam library, for the most part, on this guy. Which means this needs to be able to, well, adapt. And we're seeing how games are being optimized for the Steam Deck, but is often an afterthought because this is a unique piece of hardware. So it's not always going to have the best optimization. So to compensate, you have to have more power, and that more power can make up for some of the inefficiencies that may exist. Just like how Apple products run Apple software very, very well, whereas Windows runs any software that is available to it pretty well. Now that's not always the case, but that is what we're looking at here. When optimized, the Nintendo Switch feels like it's cheating versus something like this, which feels like it's doing its job. And it sounds like it's doing its job. When this thing's working hard, whoo, that fan is blowing and you can hear it. And this guy, for the most part, is dead silent. Now let's get into the game selection, because let me just say that the Steam Deck can play more Nintendo games than the Nintendo Switch, and that doesn't look like it's going to change. As you can see right now, I have Metroid Fusion on kind of a loop here. And the reason for that is to showcase that this is probably one of the most affordable, best, most user-friendly emulation devices that exists currently. There are plenty of others that exist, but the trade-off is often in the price point. There's much more inexpensive ones. The hardware is going to be limiting, and it's going to be a lot less user-friendly. And there are far more expensive ones where the hardware is unbelievably capable, but the price point is almost $1,000. The Neo 2, which is all over the internet right now. But where this thing shines is people understand the want for emulation. And, well, it does it great. Very, very well. And since Nintendo has clearly made it obvious that they have no intention on providing us Nintendo fans more Nintendo games of old, and either selling them to us at full price later or just completely removing the ability for us to purchase them on older hardware, we are left to turn to the retro market, which is unbelievably overpriced, or worse yet, filled with counterfeits. So I don't see where emulating a game such as Metroid Fusion or other Game Boy Advance games like Advanced Wars, which is never going to come out for the Nintendo Switch at this point, is really all that bad. Now, this can even emulate Switch games, but that right there is, well, unnecessary. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is really which one should you buy? And as always, it's going to come down to your personal preference, but let me paint a very, very clear picture. This is the first iteration of the Steam Deck, a beautiful, wonderful, crazy awesome piece of tech. I think that this is innovative and honestly one of the more impressive pieces of tech that I've touched in a very long time. This right here is solid. The Nintendo Switch has become the go-to handheld device for a lot of gamers. The numbers are incredible, and we're seeing that Nintendo really isn't pressured to create a predecessor to this because they're doing just fine. And I don't really think there's anything wrong with that. Do I want a more powerful Nintendo Switch? Of course. I always want more powerful things because I want to play more games better. But honestly, this is a great piece of hardware. This right here plays Nintendo games great. And Nintendo as a company, for the most part, provides us with a really fun gaming experience. Whereas the Steam Deck plays not only just emulated games, if that's something you're into, but also plays some pretty impressive AAA titles. I mean, I've seen people play Cyberpunk 2077 on this, Final Fantasy VII Remake, all those games, God of War even. And it's pretty impressive. I can't believe that you can play a game like God of War, which was released originally on the PlayStation, on a Steam Deck using an Xbox controller. That is the state of gaming right now with something like the Steam Deck. The versatility is unbelievably impressive. The technology under the hood is adequately impressive. And the ability to play games, especially ones that you would otherwise not be able to because they're exclusive to people playing on PC, is wildly enticing. I absolutely love that at this point in my gaming life, I'm able to play not only Nintendo, but Xbox, PlayStation games on all three of the consoles, as well as now a very, very large selection of PC titles that I would be more interested in. You're probably not going to play Valorant on this or something like League of Legends, although I'm sure someone's figured out how to do it. Still, this probably isn't your best bet. But you can boot into Linux, plug in a keyboard and mouse, and play games that way. People do it. I think that when it comes down to handheld gaming, you have to ask yourself the one question, which is, do you care to play PC titles? Because if you don't, and you're already set up, then this is just a really cool gadget. But if you're someone who is very interested in playing not only PC titles, but diving into experimental tech, because I really think that this is what we're looking at, this might be an awesome option for you. Now, I will say this, it's been out for a little while and Steam is already talking about a second one. And so I don't know if I would buy it right now in 2023. I might wait. Honestly, I might wait. But that is a conversation we're gonna have over here in this next video. And so I'll say to you right now, happy gaming.